Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Really excited today to be unveiling the latest update to Boson protocol, what we're calling our Schrodinger update. And this is a huge update to the protocol that brings royalties on secondary sales of physicals and algorithmic price discovery. So yeah, let's jump into it. I think for those new Bosonauts, and I know we've got quite a few new people in the channels and joined the community recently. Let me put this update into a little bit of context. So Boson Protocol V1 was launched back in 2021. And we launched this as the world's open public infrastructure for commerce. So this base layer that will enable buyers and sellers to transact without needing to trust each other and without needing to rely on these sort of centralized intermediaries like Amazon and eBay. And when we launched that was just this huge major breakthrough in protocol design. And then shortly after, we launched version 1. And if those who are interested in version 1 and all of our kind of the values that we set out there, that you know in terms of being open, permissionless, enabling people to share in the value they create, all of that is still available in the version 1 white paper, which is available on the website. But then a year later, we did a massive upgrade to version 2. And basically, version 2 was the result of recruiting some of the best game theorists in the world. One of the best protocol designers that we recruited from the Ethereum Foundation, some of the best blockchain legal brains. All of that got baked into version 2 of the protocol, which was this massive upgrade, far more scalable, far more efficient, and used what we call an optimistic design. So the protocol doesn't get involved unless there's a problem. So all of this is baked into version 2, which was just this complete fundamental rewrite of Boson. And this is, for this protocol, we got the World Economic Forum technology pioneer status. I mean, those of you who know me know my political views are diametrically opposed to organizations like the WEF, but nevertheless, huge recognition for this breakthrough protocol. And since then, we've done a lot of important but quite incremental upgrades. Well, with the Schrodinger upgrade, which is version 2.4, this is our biggest upgrade outside of those kind of version upgrades, version 1 and version 2, and is this major breakthrough in commerce, which enables creator royalties on secondary sales of physical items. So if you think about things like NFTs, for digital NFTs, it's quite normal to be able to offer royalties on their secondary sale, but intuitively that is far harder with a physical product, because if exchanging physicals, how would you enable this? And it's really quite interesting how the team have developed this. So Schrodinger brings this creator royalties on secondary sales of physical items, and then also enables algorithmic price discovery. So enables sellers to leverage auction mechanisms, to leverage bonding curves. So auction mechanisms on marketplaces like OpenSea, external price discovery on different bonding curve mechanisms, etc. And all of this is basically laying the groundwork for at the end of this year, when we're going to be launching a physical real world asset marketplace to sort of rival the likes of OpenSea. And I'll explain a bit more about that and tease that at the end. But firstly, let's step into royalties on secondary sales of physical products. So as I mentioned in the intro, today enabling these secondary royalties. So when you resell physical products has not been possible. So creators of physical products, be it a luxury handbag or a watch or whatever item, typically only receive revenue from the primary sale. And so with the Schrodinger update, we combined sort of two problems actually to kind of create a solution. So a bit of a reminder then of the core problem that Boson solves is enabling this fair exchange between a buyer and a seller who might not necessarily trust each other. And Boson does this by locking up funds within a smart contract and then only releasing those funds once the transaction has been successfully completed. And if there's a problem, then the buyer can raise a dispute, and the results of that dispute can be implemented by the protocol, which could be, a complete refund for the buyer or compensation by virtue of a split of the pot. So, what we find here is for the primary sale, the buyer is protected because it happens within the protocol. The challenge is that if somebody goes to buy an item on Boson, they put their money into the protocol, they receive an NFT in lieu of the actual physical, and then they go and resell that NFT, for example, on OpenSea. Well, that resale of the NFT is not protected, is not completely protected by the protocol, because if let's suppose Alice commits to an offer with a price of 100 USD, and so that there's 100 USD that goes into the protocol, but then sells that voucher to Bob outside of the protocol for 200 USDC. If the seller defaults and doesn't deliver the physical, what happens is the protocol has only got $100 to redeem Alice. And so this is kind of like the first problem, and it's what we refer to as a partial rug pull for secondary sales. And then we got this second problem, which I've already mentioned, of how do you enable creative royalties and secondary sales of physical products. And this goes back to this sort of generic challenge of why buyers and sellers could transact off platform and avoid royalties. And so the way that the Schrodinger update solves this is by solving this partial rug pull problem on secondary items. If secondary sales are performed within the protocol, then the protocol can charge these creator royalties and return revenue back to the initial creator for secondary sales of physical products. And so this works using a couple of features within the Schrodinger update. One of those features is what we call sort of sequential commit. So as I mentioned, primary sale is already done within Boson. Funds get locked up. But with sequential commit, the second buyer can now put their funds into the protocol and receive the NFT all via the protocol, so that the second buyer's funds are actually locked up as well. As I mentioned, this rug pull protection that we give provides an incentive to perform these secondary sales in protocol. And then once these secondary sales happen in the protocol, it unlocks what we call perpetual royalties. So releasing these funds. Now, the really neat thing as well is that this feature is optimally capital efficient. So in the example that I used before, if Alice is the initial buyer, she puts $100 into the protocol, and then Alice sells the NFT to Bob for $200, and Bob puts $200 into the protocol. Well, the protocol's now got $300, and the maximum it would need to pay out would be 200. So the protocol can actually release to Alice $100 before the sale is completed. So it's optimally efficient as well. And so this results in what we call perpetual royalties, royalties on secondary sales of physical products. And we've got this little animated GIF here, which it would be remiss of me to point out for the physicists here, of course, this little animation kind of breaks conservation of angular momentum. The way this thing is spinning, it's not, the physics is not quite 100%, so apologies for that. And so moving on then to the next feature of the Schrodinger update. So at the moment, well, until today, the pricing for physical items listed on Boson was fixed. With the release of the Schrodinger update, we now enable this sort of algorithmic price discovery. So the protocol can now, the protocol and the dApps built on it can now leverage external, pricing from external marketplaces like OpenSea. We can leverage some of these other auction mechanisms. You can build your own auction mechanism within your dApp, and then link that, feed that price to the protocol. You can do some super interesting things like using bonding curves and automated market makers, etc. That really brings the power of this sort of algorithmic price discovery that is familiar with NFTs to physical items, which is unlocking these kind of algorithmic price discovery to enable you to do these physical drops and digital drops, whether that's on your own website, WooCommerce, within the metaverse, wherever. So it's like a super powerful additional module. And so I think what you should be able to see, and if I bring up now the sort of roadmap, we've spent a lot of time digging the foundations and building the foundations of this commerce infrastructure, this base layer that Boson is. And that's a big job and it takes a lot of time. But once those foundations are laid, actually building like the applications on top is proving much quicker. So we're now seeing this release of all of the features that sellers have told us they want, and super happy that this is happening as we go into this, just in time for this next bull run. So we can see here, we've got, today we released price discovery, sequential commit, perpetual royalties. We've got these sort of further advanced commerce features that are ready to go now. So things like commit widgets. So being able to plug the actual buying module into websites, so that's into blog sites, plug pretty much anywhere the ability to sell something on Boson. We've also got advanced digital support coming, and all of the dApp being updated with making it super easy for sellers to do digital drops. And then we've got coming, close behind this, a big upgrade to the WooCommerce application. I mean, the WooCommerce app that we've developed and that's live at the moment is going to be upgraded with a whole bunch of features that enable sellers to sell at scale. So again, opening these kind of big fire hoses of adoption. And then we have later in the year, we have the integration with Fermion protocol. So Fermion is it's a separate network, but is an additional verification layer. So all assets are tokenized on Boson. Fermion is then built on top of Boson. And so for assets like jewelry, luxury items, even assets like property and commodities that require this more robust verification, they will use first Boson and then use Fermion. And with Boson and Fermion together, we create this sort of real world asset super system, which we see as the foundational infrastructure for physical real world assets in the blockchain economy. And so, again, that's more infrastructure. And then towards the end of the year, we will be launching a physical real world asset global marketplace. So I've mentioned some of the features like, creator royalties on physicals by incentivizing buyers and sellers to do these secondary transactions in protocol. And that is, very much a unique feature to Boson, adding this algorithmic price discovery and a whole bunch of these other features. It just makes sense because our technology now is becoming so much more advanced than just doing trusted physical NFTs and listing them in OpenSea. That we're going to launch a marketplace that will then be a place for buying and selling any physical asset, whether it's on Boson or Fermion, via this marketplace towards the end of the year. So we are super excited to now, after years and years of building infrastructure, to now get to the stage of building these kind of, that last mile kind of plumbing for this new real world asset economy. So that's it for the update. All that's left to say is a massive thank you to the team behind all of this. I mean, they've been building and building this for months and months and months, and it's just amazing to see all of this stuff launch. Thank you again to the community. I think everyone recognizes this huge buzz around the project as we've sort of come out of stealth mode, and sort of, really, kind of launching into this new bull market. And I'm told I need to mention the Zeely code word, which is Schrodinger. I think we'll probably allow slight misspellings of that due to language difficulties and stuff. I chose that Zeely code word, so maybe I'll choose a slightly easier one next time. But some sort of variant of Schrodinger we will accept. And thank you everybody for joining today.